we need to know the ground we're stepping on so that we know what direction to go. When a ground that has welcomed you, and let it say welcome, welcome 1,000 times, but I need to tell you the details of where you are standing, which is today a World Heritage Site, but we will try and roll back from the beginning. In 1924, this was a very big area with around 35,000 square kilometers, and by then it was an open hunting area. And then things closed up a bit, and it became an elephant reserve as from 1932. So everything could be hunted. As from Maputo City, which was just a pan with wild animals, which is today a metropolis, some sort of. And after they've realized most of the animals are being hunted, including a trick by late 50s that someone said he wanted to build farm on the northern side of the park. So he began killing elephants. Many of them said that they did not damage their crops. So the fetus of the 22 months of an elephant are kept in a museum in New York and in a museum in Maputo. Then they realized things were going off track. So in 1962, Maputo Special Reserve was established with the aim of conserving everything, including the endemic vegetal endemism or spot of Maputo land. Time went by, borders changed by 1969, and after independence in 1975, we still proceeded with the conservation effort, but just in between, like I say, animals have been killed by locals using local firearms, using conventional firearms after the Second World War, and most of the animal species were depleted as from early 19th century. So lions, wildebeest, zebra have been going down all the line, and some of them have been locally extinct. After independence, like I said, efforts continue with conservation, but with our home differences that we call, in a beautiful word, civil war. The reserve, which was Maputo Special Reserve, was abandoned in 1987 because of security reasons. But early after the peace accords in 1992, by 1995, we reoccupied the park again. And in 1996, somebody called Blanchard was given the authority to try and rehabilitate the park. For reasons best known to whoever is not here, Blanchard walked away, but the park continued to grow up. And by the year 2008, Peace Parks Foundation joined Maputo National Park with efforts that began early in the year 2000, establishing the transfrontier conservation areas, recognizing that animals did not obey or observe the administrative or political borders. So TFCAs, Transfrontier Conservation Area, have been established. So we had the Limpopo Transfrontier Conservation Area, and there was the Libombo, which is the Sutu Tembefuti Conservation Area. Conservation kept on. The World Bank was giving some funds, PPF also gave some funds, and in the year 2010, no, before that, just in 2009, we realized that people were coming to the beach, and the beach was not protected. We just had the land side, which was Maputo Special Reserve. So a marine area was declared, which is the Ponta Douro Marine Partial Reserve. And administratively, it was a bit awkward that we have two twin areas that have two different administrations. So the Ponta Douro Marine Partial Area, together with Maputo Special Reserve, came into a national park in 2017. But just before that process, in 2011, animals taught us that, in fact, they had no border. There were natural migrations from Maputo National Park deep into Tembe Elephant Park in South Africa, across the Ndum Reserve in South Africa, and then back into Swaziland, and back again in Mozambique via Namasha and Moamba, and then back out into Kruger, travel to Limpopo National Park and to Banyeni and all along. we realized there was a technical mistake, which ecologically had not been observed during the delimitation of the national park. So a natural corridor was established between Maputo National Park, by then National Reserve, with Tembe, with the 204 square kilometers. So that allowed the natural movement of animals from one end to the other. After the park has been established as such in 2017, we kept on trying to grow, but just to make it worth being a park, in 2010, a reintroduction program was established, was conceived, where till 2022, approximately 5,000 different animal species were introduced from South Africa, Swaziland, and Gorongosa National Park. The beauty we saw today, the wildebeest, the zebra, the nyala, the kudu that we did not see, the warthogs that strangely enough kept away from us, I think they thought we would make them meat. We don't eat wild meat in this area until the carrying capacity of the area has been blown up. Then we can make culling, which is controlled hunting, where the communities living around that are forbidden to eat, to feed and get protein for the animals, will get the proteins formally and legally. It will be open to public, not for hunting, but the park will cull and sell the meat, not for profit making, but just to cover the cost of the ammo, the ammunition, and the manpower alone. So if the kg, but there will be 50 meticals, that's fine. A kilogram of beef in Salamanga is around 200 meticals. So if a wild kg of meat, of wild meat, is only 50 or 60, we're not at loss, because the idea is not making profit, but to make people understand we are conserving for sustainable use, and not that we're saying, don't touch. That's not the philosophy. After being a park, Isbangalis, and our neighbors in South Africa are World Heritage sites. We have all the conditions on this marine side of ours. We have the coral reefs, we have the fishes, different of them. We have dolphins, we have whales, we have shark whales. So why not be a World Heritage site as well? So efforts were begun early again in 2010, till by July this 2025, we became a World Heritage Site. So we are stepping on very special ground. And coming back to the people, thank you. Coming back to the people, when this area was established as an elephant reserve, people from Huko, which is a community around the corridor, people from Gebeza, and people from Kangwanazi today, which is part of Manguzi in South Africa, are Tembe people. And the proof to that, when they have to do their traditional ceremonies for the marula, I didn't show a marula tree. I ought to show a marula tree tomorrow. It's a pity, it all bears fruit around December, January, so won't have the fruits. If you woo me well, I can send you pictures of marula fruits. Some of you have seen them. So people from both sides of the border, Mozambique and South Africa, if the ceremony is in South Africa, Mozambique will go through the border without a passport. If the ceremony is in Mozambique, people come through to Mozambique without a passport. So they share their marula and their palm wine, the one that we have used to buy some stuff for yourselves yesterday. So those are traditional brews that are used traditionally, and that unites the people, that unites the culture. So international borders are not really recognizing conservation, and that's why we have to ushirika, we have to unite, we have to congregate, we have to put up efforts together to make this conservation world one. Because the oxygen that is produced in Maputo National Park reaches Canada, reaches Australia. The one that is not produced there is affected positively by the one that you produce here. That's the history of this park, just for your orientation. We can carry on with whatever questions may arise. I might have left the bits and bits out, but I'm here for you. Don't be afraid. Questions that are asked are never wrong. What can be wrong is the answer. So please, feel free.
Rodolfo, can we ask you, does anybody have questions for him?
There's one here on my left-hand side.
Thanks very much for a very inspiring talk, the story.
Thank you.
Question that I have is, out of all, I can believe you are not a young person, and you could have chosen any path in life, And why did you choose this as a conservation?
I've just been telling that story to someone a few minutes. We sat all around this beautiful fire. Take beautiful pictures of the fire. Every moment in this fire is a different image. This is nature. You won't find the same picture 5 minutes later. So keep taking, you'll love a few of them. I first, after my A-level in 1977, I did my technical course. It was in agriculture and livestock and husbandry. Why? Well, I'm a rural person, and I said, let me be an agricultural engineer, because I loved those round huts with boots that they wore. It was childhood. But just before that, I told my mother after my A-level that I wanted to be a driver. My mom said, you are nuts. You choose a different thing to do. Well, I had to take the instruction from my mother, so I was doing commerce. But there's a moment that called March 8th in 1977, where someone said, let's define priorities in this country. So our priorities agriculture and whatever that was important. Some people were sent to Russia, to Cuba, to Germany, prioritizing key development areas of the country. So I was sent to do agriculture. So it was a country's choice, and I took it happily. After finishing my basic level in 1979, I joined a technical institute in 1980, and I was doing livestock and husbandry. Why the shift? I said, well, the vet doctors, when they go and inspect meat, they take the livers, they take the hearts and everything for inspection. I think I should be burning below the sun being an agricultural engineer. And I read the two men of them. Let me join livestock and husbandry because I'll eat fresh meat. So it was for beef that I joined livestock and husbandry. But then fortunately, the Minister of Agriculture by 1981 decided there were a wildlife institute in Cameroon, in French. There was a wildlife institute, or there is a wildlife institute in Tanzania, which is Mweka Wildlife College. We did not have a PALOPS institute. PALOPS, that's Portuguese-speaking language countries, which is Portugal, Brazil, Mozambique, Cape Verde, Saint Tomé and Príncipe. So let's establish a Portuguese-speaking wildlife college. So we began to build that, or they began. I was just a student. I was a pioneer. It was Mozambicans and Angolans by then. But unfortunately, on December 17th, it was exactly 11:15. We had the first shuffle of the cards within the plans. So a vehicle from the park, Conservationist National Park, was snapped by our brothers of the other side, broke in the boom into the park, and that was the story. One of our lecturers was a Tanzanian, Lothar Melamari. He ran to the school. We're having maths class with a guy from Chile. And he said, lion. Well, we're there for conservation. Why should we be worried about lion? Then he said the right name. So we all buzzed away. I don't remember how we jumped that Chitengo fence, which is the headquarters of... I was the second richest, because richest guy had a pair of glasses with him, and I had a pen, a big pen, so I was the richest guy. Unfortunately, by then, John Balson, who was one of our lecturers, was an ecologist from UK, who was sitting from his cave in the house, reading his books, was snatched away for more than a year. The guy from Chile was taken away for around 9 months to the streets from Malawi. But with time, understanding what conservation really is, I understood nature is the mother. When you go back to the Bible, I wonder if the Quran and other church books speak the same. They say the humankind was the last thing that the Lord made. And after making it, say, you go to the earth and govern the earth. What I'm realizing is that instead of governing the earth, instead of using wisely the earth, we are making shirika to destroy the earth. So we're not realizing the oxygen that we breathe after second comes from the mother nature. We do all the best we do to increase our human the carbon dioxide emissions and spoil all those on area. And we are giving space to ultraviolet to spoil our skin, will spoil our fertility and all of those. So I'd rather keep on this hard side of the life, because conservation, unfortunately, is not understood as means of life and the mother to life on earth. It's a difficult mission, but if it's difficult, I leave it to go and stand on the soft side. What am I doing? Let's give hands, let's shirika all together to see if the politicians can make better decisions to conserve and preserve nature. And that's why I chose nature. So if I'm to die and there's a next life, I'll come back to conservation with a lot of passion and love.
I agree. Of course.
Yeah. Alpha, you obviously have a lot of passion in this life, a lifetime of experience in conservation in the bush. But you also must have had some scary experiences with wild animals. You've got to share some of those, please.
Well, I love that. It's natural that people perceive things that way. Like I say, I've been in conservation since 1981, and I've been lucky to have good tutors, good lecturers. And one of the things that we learned is the animal behavior. So if you understand the words of animals, you hardly get into trouble. You incidentally may get into trouble. I've once got cornered, but because it was not because of me, but still because I understood the behavior, we as a team, it was in an open vehicle, we're driving through a pond somewhere. We saw little elephants drinking water. We said, well, that's fine. But we didn't realize adults were around them. We are not to think the babies were alone, because they can't be walking alone. Elephants, I love them for their love, for their passion, for their social behavior. Those animals, if a mother dies, the other one who is milking will take care of the baby. If one dies, they'll be sitting around trying to bring him back to life. So I love elephants. But mistake is, we continue driving. Fortunately, it's only the matriarch who was ahead of us who popped out of the bush and said, guys, what are you doing? Where's my family? Meaning his family or her family. And then the young ones, the mother and some bulls, younger bulls, because elephants don't live with all the bulls around. The bulls only join the family when it comes to real time. We get what I mean? Otherwise, they keep away. So the mothers and subadults up to around 15, 17 years, male elephants will mature at 19, and female elephants will mature at around 17. So there's the age that they'll be their firstborns, and they'll all be followed by 2 generations. Because elephants will give birth every 5 years, not earlier than that. You know the reason why. So the big family was following the vehicle. And then the matriarch will say, give me room, I want to see my family behind. My choice was meeting the only lonely lady who is taking charge and say, you do anything you want from me. So I went as close as something like 10, 7, 5 meters. Fortunately, God bless, one of the elephants walked into the bush trying to find their way out. So the matriarch walked half body out. So I took my golden chance and just drive past her. So that was the tightest I've ever had. Otherwise, we've been trying to be careful. We know animals have their distances, safety distances. You have the green zone, you have the yellow zone, and you have the red zone. And animal will behave accordingly. If you're in the green zone, peace on earth. If in the yellow zone, some animals will say, hey, beware, you're getting too close. And when you get to its red zone, there'll be communication. Wild animals do not attack humans. It's humans who are killers. Wild animals will always keep away from us and will give us room to respect them. So if we obey the commands of those innocent beings, there's always peace on earth. But anywhere we unite and cooperate, if we could turn the peace in the wilderness into human beings, we'll be living up the skies and not on earth. Hope we all get there.
Okay. Other questions for Governor?
Again, there are no wrong questions.
It's a bit personal.
Sorry?
It's a bit personal.
Okay.
So,
And I'm fast, and I make just for laughter. I speak very fast, so if I go too fast, please tell me to break down. My mom took me to the maternity on a Sunday afternoon, and she had me at 2:15 on a Tuesday. So I'm speaking fast, trying to cover up the time those are waiting to see the earth.
now talking of when you were young,
Yeah.
and is there one piece of advice you give your younger self, knowing what you know right now? That young man who had not even been a pioneer.
Yeah.
What's one advice you give the younger self?
It's unfortunate that I'll be biased. I'll say a table will stand on 4 feet, not on one. So all the feet will stand for a purpose. Supporting the table, that will give food to human beings, and after finish all the food, we'll use hand and clean the table and be left with nothing. But still, the table will stand there. So I'll say one of the pillars on earth is conservation. So it's good people understand being a conservationist, being a person who advises what's used, not touch not, is a pillar that should be understood as part and parcel of nature, of life. I'm not saying conservation is more important than other professions, but it's crucially important because it will keep land intact and supply earth and nature with oxygen and with resources that can allow scientists, researchers to find medicines, to find different foods, because what has been industrialized today, there's little that can grow from there. And we'll lose the natural sources to get better living opportunities by adapting foods, adapting drinks, adapting fruits, and all of those. So one of them definitely will be conservation. But agriculture, after you improve your natural crops, is an important mission. Technology, so I wouldn't say one, but I would say let's not forget conservation.
Thank you.
And one detail, whatever you're doing in conservation, remember you are not standing on 1 foot. You belong to a table that has 4 feet. So respect the effect of other areas, put in your way clear that you are part of the game, you are part of the team. So that's shirika again in short. Kuwasiliana, kuwa pamoja, kushirikiana. I have advantage because I've studied in Tanzania, so I know some Swahili.
Questions, Liza and Dora.
The next party.
Like,
Thank you. Mine is, I know there are challenges which could be facing the park,
I see.
and as someone who has experience, I feel like we could have done some training somewhere for the young people.
Yeah.
What's the best advice you can give young leaders in conservation against the current challenges which are prevailing, especially in the administration and management of wildlife?
Like that.
Well, I wonder if I'll be giving the right question, but I will give an answer related or based on my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I've partially said it in the last answer, but to me, the best way to do conservation is to make sure conservation begins outside protected areas. What do I mean by that? Let the areas outside of formally established conservation areas be part of conservation efforts, but benefiting directly the local communities. Let the local communities perceive and understand the value of conservation by getting direct benefits, so that they realize just eating meat or getting protein is not the only end of natural resources. They can get much more from that. If local communities have their own conservation areas, which is community conservation areas, or you could call them community areas for indigenous resources, call them anything, different names, and not being the government offering 20% like this park does to the communities, that is not enough. Because they will say, it's the government's obligation. They don't understand where does that money come from. So if they are part of the process, they're involved in the conservation efforts, besides being part of the conservation committee or council of the park, they're invited to attend the meetings, understand the decision and visions of the park, and have their visions embedded in the management plans, then we are doing nothing. So if communities are part of the management process, they are consulted, the information is shared with them, reports are given back to them, and they have direct dividends from conservation in their own areas, and the government supporting their projects through partnerships, facilitating process, grants, and all of those. So soon we begin conserving rural areas, natural areas, like they've always been. You have sacred spots. That was some sort of conservation. There are a lot of things that traditional people used to do. So the sacred forest we have, we say, touch not. If you want to eat something, eat from that sacred forest and don't take it out. That was means of conservation. They'll say girls must not go and plant maize, for instance, before an adult person goes and plants. That was meaning saving the seeds, Because if girls, for innocence, they'll just go and plant things out of season and they'll lose the seed. So local communities have knowledge, have the mighty power. We just need to sort of influence some better practices. So let young people understand, if you have a piece of paper that entitled as a best honors, a master's or a PhD holder, all you have is a torch to show you which direction you should go. It's people on the ground, it's local communities who have the real knowledge that you have to capitalize on and sort of lead for better practices. So a piece of paper at university is not full knowledge, it's a clue. The base will give you what you really need.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Yes, my question is related to your last answer. You said you come from a rural area, and sometimes people from the rural area has the understanding that the animals, the plants belongs to them. And when we talk about conservation, sometimes they don't understand. I'd like to know, coming from a rural area and coming to the world of conservation, what was the reaction of people surrounding you? How do they say it?
Thank you. That's a clever question. Well, it's unfortunate that in my rural area, there are no conservation areas. I'm from Inyambani, around Cumbane. But let's talk about the people around this place that I've lived for my last 15 years, or the people that lived with in Nyasa Reserve or in Conservationist National Park. I've been fortunate to visit a few, or to live in a few parks in the country. Well, historically, the establishment of conservation areas involved eviction of local people. That's how it was at the beginning. But then later on, in late 70s and 80s, we understood that was not the best practice. So the areas have been established, and what you must try and do, what we did in this park in particular, we established local committees that are sort of natural resource management committees that will be directly involved in consultation processes. They'll be involved in managing the money, again I say, but the wrong way, because the decree that established the 20% does not foresee or advise how that money should be used. So some leaders will take the money to their pockets, some communities will share the money as money, other people will do whatever they want, even make ceremonies, they just drink beer. So dashing money out does not lead people to understand conservation. But if you say this piece of land of yours is part of the park, but because of this piece of which is in the park, you have benefits, that's one thing. But the best out of that plus is the rural area that it has, if you can protect that, and you have your benefits, you have your hunting quota, because you cannot hunt from a national park. But if you have your community area, you can hunt, you get your protein. And you can have people coming to hunting from your area and get direct money. So it was a pinch because of how areas were established. But there's consciousness, so we have outreach, community outreach programs that try and give opportunity to people to try and drive and derive business and make money. And we also have entailing the conservation side, where the rural areas that are not actively used by communities can turn in conservation areas that belong to the communities themselves. I trust that is slowly healing the wounds, but it's a slow healing process. It's a change, and change, there's always a resistance to it. And because the areas have been taken away abruptly and forcefully from them, for them to understand that the philosophy is changing and we are reckoning big mistakes have been made yesterday, it's time to heal them, to correct those mistakes by sharing hands, sharing efforts, and again, the Ushirika is in there. So should Shirikara governments and communities try and be one, have the same rationale, we have different backgrounds, yes, but if the goal is the same, we'll walk through our own paths tolerantly and get to a common pattern, and we'll be one. Thank you.
It was good.
Fortunately.
Yeah.
So, which animal do you say is over dramatic?
I'll make you laugh.
Where's the one there?
You guys have seen ngiri. Ngiri is warthog.
Yeah.
And you've seen wildebeest. Like those animals do not see properly. So when they see you, they'll like run towards you, like chasing you away. And when they say, wow, it's a human being, that's when they... So I would say those are overdramatic. The other ones are much wiser for sure. But warthogs and wildebeest are the funniest ones. Even giraffe, on the giraffe, because they're not abrupt, they are cool animals, it will come walking majestically like that, not like the other animals. The giraffe will walk like that till it says, oh, so this is a human being. And you stand and glare at you. That's not overdramatic. But wildebeest and ngiri, those are just funny.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Rodolfo, I have a question for you.
Please.
Where did you find all the love for doing this?
Like I said, I was born rural. The first thing I remember was I'm only 3 years old. I would go to my mom to the river. My mom was a Zulu from Nongoma. And then she would go to the river and wash her clothes. I remember we would follow them. There's a tree that if you sort of rub into water, it makes soap, or it makes foam, and it looks like soap. So I began saying, well, so a tree can make soap. Perhaps that tree does not make soap, but in my brains of a child, that made soap. When going to the farms in the bush, we would see grasshoppers, and I'll eat grasshoppers. And those are they're not reared at home, so they're in the wilderness. When I was around 9, 10 years, my friends would be hunting with catapults. So that was nature offering us protein. I said, well, it's like nature has something to give. Without knowing the word conservation as such, but I could appreciate nature has something to give. We have the wild fruits, some of which I've shown you today. So they said the ancient man was gatherers. We are gatherers today. The only thing is we have adulterated the natural products. We have put GMOs into them. And we are spoiling nature, let's put it. Because the seeds for maize that will come and plant, they will emit chemicals that will affect the local crops and kill them and be dependent on one supplier. I'm not talking politics. Let's stop that from there. But the reason is I lived in nature and nature offered me things that I liked. And here's nature still offering us things today. So why drop the love and passion to Mother Nature?
Thank you.